This trial is a complete circus at this point in time. Stormy Daniels was not credible. You heard on cross examination how she speaks with the dead and makes money doing that, and all sorts of just crazy make-believe testimony and stories that she told. I think what we should expect from Michael Cohen is quite simple. You're going to have a convicted perjurer, someone who has been recently in the last week admonished by a judge for not telling the truth. I think you're going to hear him tell all sorts of tales, but none of them should be believed unless they could be absolutely 100% corroborated, which is going to be very hard because he's most likely going to be making them up on the stand as he goes.
So how long do you think he will be on the stand? And we saw some pretty spirited and I thought searing cross-examination of Stormy Daniels. I think that that's only going to be a shred of what's to come from Michael Cohen, don't you?
No, I agree, Rita. I think we're going to see him on for multiple days, maybe even 3 to 4 days. It may take all week to, sort of get what he has to say, although it's not going to be that important. And I'm guessing that the jury is starting to wonder what the crimes that are going to be alleged, because they've heard a lot of testimony, but they haven't heard a lot of evidence that's going to support the elements of the various crimes that Alvin Bragg hopes to prove beyond a reasonable doubt. So I'm guessing that the jury's getting a little impatient with all the nonsense they're hearing so far.
What do you make of the fact that Stormy Daniels, also after she testified, she was clearly baiting President Trump and was talking about, oh, well, real men should be testifying. Do you think, despite her comments, do you think the president will?
That's usually a judgment call that's made at the end after all the evidence has come in, both for the prosecution and the defense. And then you make a decision. I've both been a prosecutor and a defense lawyer. I've tried many cases in front of juries. And quite frankly, you don't know until the end whether it's you need to put your client up or not. I would tell you, so far, I don't see any reason for President Trump to go up. I think the case is incredibly weak, and I don't think that he ultimately is going to have to defend himself because the evidence is just not proving the case.
Who do you think they're going to bring up, Matt, after Michael Cohen? Because they said that Michael Cohen, then there's one more witness after that. It's smart process, as you know, because I don't think I would end on Michael Cohen for all the reasons we're just talking about because of all the credibility issues with him. Who do you think they would try to put on afterwards? And is that designed to also put a little distance if they're skeptical about Michael Cohen, somebody who can maybe try to help rehabilitate him if he needs it after that?
Yeah, I'm expecting that it's going to be somebody with knowledge of the actual underlying financial crimes, if they even have that witness. It's hard to know. I know Alan Weisselberger has been speculated to be the final witness, but the way they're doing this case without telling the public or the defense who is next, I think is no way to run a trial. But this judge so far has made so many reversible errors that this case will probably be studied for a long time, and how not to manage a trial by a judge.
It's interesting because just as you're saying, Matt, and you know this all too well, you're such a great legal mind. And when we sit there and look at all of these things, there are probably so many grounds right now for whether it's a mistrial or for an appeal. And yet that doesn't seem to be an issue with this judge. He's throwing things out there you can hear, but it seems like the intent is politics, just to get some sort of result prior to the election versus fair justice along the way. I mean, in many cases, this judge should have recused himself from the get-go. He donated to Biden. His daughter is making a lot of money on these Democratic causes. But does this seem just full steam ahead for more political reasons than anything else?
Yeah, Rita, those are such good points. I think, both a mistrial and reversal on appeal are certainly in the cards still. I also think a directed verdict. I mean, although you point out the conflicts of this judge and how he has seemed to be a partisan against Trump in many of his decisions, I think a directed verdict where he says, even if you assume all this evidence is true, it doesn't prove a crime. I think that's still in the cards. And so, we're going to be watching very closely at the close of the evidence by the state to see if this judge says there's just no case here to be had.